This is the Rebel Call channel. Welcome to today's show. Donald Trump has proudly accepted the endorsement from the Fraternal Order of Police. And I want to thank a subscriber on the website, Truth Seeker, for sharing this with me, because Donald Trump posted this out on his Twitter account and was so proud to let everybody know that the 377,000 members across the nation have endorsed him and shown his support. So what does this mean? Well, what this means is that Donald Trump is proudly accepting the endorsement of a Freemasonic fraternal order. Because if you didn't know, the Fraternal Order of Police is an official branch of Freemasonry. And you might say to yourself, well, what does that even mean? You might say, well, I've heard you cover Freemasons and how they really worship Lucifer. And well, I could see that logo for the Fraternal Order of Police, and I even see that all-seeing eye, right, on the logo. But what does that mean? Well, if you're wondering how a lot of these false flag events are occurring around the United States of America, look no further than the Fraternal Order of Police. If you're wondering how the police are in on it at schools, how the police are in on it in situations like the George Floyd situation, this is how they act out these actual false flags and psyops out in the public. Remember, Freemasons practice rituals. They do rituals that are even theatrical rituals. They go out and they do mock death rituals, rituals I've exposed in the past, where they all dress up and they play make-believe. They literally cosplay while they're doing their rituals. They pretend to kill each other, stab one another, mock death ceremonies where they put them in coffins. So they're already very well versed in theatrics and being able to act out and stage events. And this is how all of this chaos is ensuing around our country because of the Fraternal Order of Police, because the Freemasons who have infiltrated the police force are put in positions like sheriff, high-ranking positions inside of the police force where they're the ones who oversee all of these events. For example, an event happens at a school, right? And you'd say to yourself, well, that sounds too complicated for the government to actually stage it out. Well, the government, who's obviously a part of the same secret societies, they bring it over to the Fraternal Order of Police. They tell them how they want to act and stage this out. They grab their puppet police officers from the local branches, right, the local law enforcement branches, and they have them told ahead of time. They're briefed in what's going to go on and how they should act it out. And remember, they believe and they're trained. They take an oath to one another, and that oath is above their own marriage. That oath is above their own family that Freemasons take. That's something that people have to get. This isn't just buddies going, hey, you want to be involved in something with me? Every degree that they go through in Freemasonry requires them to put their trust more and more in their fellow brothers. Their oaths that they take, they vow to secrecy to the brotherhood. It becomes their livelihood. It becomes their life. It becomes the number one thing in their life. The same way Christians that we all look at God as number one, they look at their fraternal order as number one. So when they're asked to do something, they don't blink. They don't hesitate. They don't say, oh, well, I don't know, that goes against my morals, because they're told that it's for the betterment of the brotherhood. And they believe that they're making good men better. So let me start here by airing for you this clip where you can see Donald Trump on the news. He comes out. He's just accepting the endorsement right in front of that Freemasonic police order logo.
Donald Trump back in North Carolina to officially accept the endorsement for the Fraternal Order of Police. That happened right here in the Queen City.
Yeah, that's right. The FOP is holding its annual fall meeting and invited the former president to attend. Trump just wrapped up his visit in the past 20 minutes. WCNC Charlotte's Jesse Pierre joins us live from outside the event in North Charlotte. Jesse, what's the latest at this hour?
Well, like you mentioned tonight, Trump is leaving Charlotte with the full endorsement of the National Fraternal Order of Police. And again, Trump has made several visits in North Carolina during his campaign. He was actually just in Charlotte just a few months ago. So tonight, a big endorsement he is leaving with. And just like you mentioned, he left here with his remarks just a few moments ago. Now, Trump spoke to the National Board of the FOP, the world's largest organization of law enforcement officers, for about an hour. Today, the organization's president announced they are officially endorsing Trump for president. Its leadership thanking former President Trump for his true commitment in advancing policing. Now, Trump took to the stage and said he is honored by the endorsement and spoke about always backing the blue.
This is a big endorsement for me. This is like 373,077. Boy, that's a lot of protection. That's big protection, and we appreciate it very much. It's an honor, and I'm thrilled to be back with the incredible heroes and patriots of the Fraternal Order of Police.
Now, Trump also spoke on several issues, including homelessness, immigration, and crimes. He says he wants to see stronger punishment when it comes to criminals, and he even called for the death penalty for anyone who killed police.
Okay, so I'll get into the handshake. You could even see on the screen in that clip that I played, you could even see him doing the Freemasonic handshake. Of course, the loyal followers of Trump who think that they're awake, they don't want to think any further than surface level. So they want to think that there's wicked people, there's Satanists, but they don't want to actually believe that Trump could be one of them when he openly shows you his association and his affiliation with the occult. Whether it's him talking about his affiliation with the Freemasonic Fraternal Order of the Police, or it's just him holding up the 666 hand sign as his logo, or it's just him, being involved with that red bracelet club that you're not allowed to talk about. So let's start with this, because you might say, what is the Fraternal Order of Police Freemasons? This is an international fraternal organization that was founded in 1915 by two Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania police officers. The organization has grown to become one of the world's largest and most respected professional organizations for law enforcement officers. The FOP Freemasons provides its members with a wide variety of benefits, services, and programs to support their professional careers and personal lives. They are an active voice in advocating for the rights and interests of law enforcement officers across the country. The FOP Freemasons also promote a strong bond between members of the law enforcement profession through its unique fraternal brotherhood, which is built upon trust, loyalty, and mutual respect. The Fraternal Order of Police Freemasons is a fraternal organization made up of active and retired police officers who are also members of the Masonic Lodge. It was formed to promote camaraderie, mutual assistance, and brotherly love among its members, to increase the efficiency of law enforcement and to uphold the honor and dignity of the profession. The order works closely with local, state, and federal law enforcement agencies to ensure that its members are treated fairly and given due consideration. The Fraternal Order of Police Freemasons seeks to improve public safety through education, service, advocacy, and public awareness campaigns. Now, of course, they're not going to admit what they really are out in the open, but what they have admitted is that they are a Freemasonic fraternal order. And this is how they've infiltrated the police force, just like they've infiltrated politics. They've infiltrated, and again, we can look back and we can look at George Washington being a Freemason. I mean, these are all things that are factual that people can look up for themselves. They've put themselves in all these positions of power. When I'm talking about corporations, the heads of corporations are all members of these secret societies. The same with every single famous person in Hollywood, the same with every single musician out there around the world. They're all a part of this. And they're the ones who are creating all of this chaos. They're the ones who are creating all of this division. Their motto is order out of chaos, right? Well, who's creating the chaos? They are. And you can even see the Fraternal Order of Police Freemasons also has its own set rituals, which involve oaths, initiation ceremonies, and pledges to uphold justice and protect citizens' rights. These rituals are designed to instill loyalty among members, as well as to remind them of their commitment to serve their communities by upholding the law. Their oath and their loyalty is to each other. It is not to the civilians. The same way that the politicians tell us that they're taking an oath to serve us. They're not serving us. They're infiltrating. This is treason at the highest order. Freemasons are treasonous. That's what they are. They're guilty of treason. So are the Eastern Star Witches, all members of secret societies who are in politics, who are in the police, who are in the military. They're all guilty of treason. Just nobody out there will figure out who Freemasons are, because you'll never hear the mainstream media talk about it. You certainly won't hear the alt-right media talk about it, because they gatekeep for them. They constantly do. So if you take a close look at the logo, right? This is something most people have been desensitized with. They see a star like this, and they literally just cannot connect the dots on a 5-pointed star being the same thing as the pentagram, because I guess in their minds, they need to see the lines going through it to make them think that it is some type of pagan witchcraft symbol. But in fact, it's about the points. It's not about the lines in the star, in the pentagram. Okay, so if you look at the 5-pointed star, let's first break it down. You have the all-seeing eye right in front of your face, right? And I'll give you the breakdown on what they claim these symbols mean. It's hilarious. You have the all-seeing eye of Lucifer right there. You have the Freemasonic handshake on the other side, and you have the black and white Masonic checkerboard floor, right? These are all Freemasonic. This is them. I mean, look, they admit to being Freemasons. What they don't admit is that they worship Lucifer, because that's not something that's supposed to be public knowledge. They just say, hey, we worship a higher power, right? You have to worship a higher power to be a Freemason. Well, there's lots of reasons for that, because the whole goal is that when they get Christians or people who are on the fence about what they actually believe into Freemasonry, they convince them that Lucifer is God, and that's the God that they should worship through all their teachings. They don't want people who don't believe in a higher power, because they probably realize that they can't get through to people who are atheists, because they're completely brain dead and they're so far gone. What's the point of even trying at that point, right? They're just not even in this spiritual war that we have going on. They're in a different reality. People who are believing that we evolved from a big bang and farts and monkeys and all the nonsense that is the Big Bang and atheism that these people believe. But looking at this thing, you don't realize this logo. The 5-pointed star inside of the circle, right? Again, this is a pentacle in witchcraft, but let's look what they claim that this is, right? The emblem adopted by the National Fraternal Order of Police is designed to remind the membership of the duties that are expected of them as a citizen, a police officer, and a member of the lodge. The five-cornered star, it's a 5-pointed star, tends to remind us of the allegiance we owe to our flag. Wrong. The allegiance they have to Lucifer. Remember, the allegiance we owe to our flag and is a symbol of the authority which we are entrusted. It's an honor the people we serve bestow upon us. They place their confidence and trust in us, serve them proudly. Okay, look, midway between the points. So, okay, then they go to points. What do they say up at the top, right? The 5-cornered star. Then they go midway between the points, because it's points in a star. That's what's in the ritual. It's about the points in it. And I'll get into that. Okay, so they say midway between the points and center of the star, the pentagram, is a blue field representative of the thin blue line protecting those we serve. The points are of gold, which indicate the position under which we are now serving. The background is white, the unstained color representing the purity with which we should serve. We shall not let anything corrupt be injected into our order. Right? And define corrupt. When you worship Lucifer, in their minds, all the corrupt things that we would look at as corrupt are justified, which is what you see going on. So they think everything they're doing is justified, giving all power over to them, right? Creating this dystopian, utopian reality that they want to create, disarming civilians, giving all authority over to these people. So it goes on to say the open eye. Listen to this. This is one of the funnier definitions I've ever read. The open eye, which is clearly the all-seeing eye, the eye on the back of the dollar bill, the eye of providence is the eye of Lucifer. The open eye is the eye of vigilance, ever looking for danger and protecting all those under its care while they sleep or while awake. The clasped hands denote friendship. So those hands, it's a conspiracy, right? That those hands have something to do with the Masonic handshake, right? The hand of friendship is always extended to those in need of our comfort. And the circle surrounding the star midway indicates our never-ending efforts to promote the welfare and advancement of this order. Within the half circle, over the centerpiece is our motto, Jus Fidus Libertatum, which translated means law is the safeguard of freedom, right? Well, if you actually just use your eyes, you could see, right? Let's take a look at this logo. Does this logo look familiar to you? Okay, this is the logo that every person who sees this would say, oh yeah, that's a witchcraft, right? Witchcraft. I see it around Halloween. It's in all the stores around Halloween, right? What's the same exact logo? It's the same thing, okay? We've been trained to look at a star as if it's this mysterious star. Oh, it's a star in the sky. It's a pentagram, okay? And if you look at Aleister Crowley's teachings about how we're all stars, then you start to see, oh, wow, they call each other in Hollywood, they're all stars, celebrities, the Hollywood Walk of Fame with stars. This is all occult crap right in front of our faces, right? So you see the 5-pointed star in the circle. It's exactly the same exact thing. That's the protection circle that we see these rituals done in. Most satanic rituals are done inside of this protection circle with the pentagram in the middle of it, right? But of course, when the Freemasons, the police do it, we're supposed to look the other way and believe this cookie cutter definition that they give us. And of course, they just put this out in case you start to wake up to what's going on. They want you to go and find what they claim it to be, and then you're supposed to just believe it, right? But if you start talking about the all-seeing eye of providence, why is the eyeball on the back of the dollar bill? Why do the Masons use it? Why do the Fraternal Order of Police use it? Why do all the celebrities always put their hand over there? Well, they don't expect you to think that far, especially pre-internet. they certainly didn't expect you to think that far because it was almost impossible to show all these collages and screenshots of everybody. Where are you going to see it? In a pamphlet, right? At your local church, maybe? It wouldn't reach a lot of people. So now they kind of have to backpedal, and they put these fake, and when I say backpedal, they have to put their cookie cutter definitions of what they have as their logos out there because you can see it everywhere now, right? Because you can see all these people constantly showing us the same stuff. So what's funny is if you look at Trump when he's accepting this endorsement, he's literally standing right in front of the pentagram in the background, their logo, and the handshake is right there on screen. It's the same exact handshake verbatim as in that picture. And again, we already know that he's one of them. I've exposed this before. It's very obvious. You're not in a position like Trump unless you're one of them. But you can even see him doing the fraternal handshake right there, the Masonic handshake, okay? And to me, it looks more like it's the grip of the most excellent master and possibly the past grip of a master Mason. Now, if you read a lot of the teachings of Freemasons, they try to debunk all the Masonic handshakes. They claim that they do have Masonic handshakes, but you'll never be able to see it because it's something that they feel. And there is truth to that because we can look at a lot of the handshakes and then you can just try to break down and say, well, what are they? Right, but they do press with their fingers. And that's how they know that the person they're shaking hands with is another Freemason, another member of the same secret societies. And by the way, they press on the hand and do the handshake, they're able to communicate to that person what degree they are in Freemasonry. So it's clearly a fraternal Masonic handshake that Trump is doing there. And again, Trump, when I talk about exposing Trump in the past, obviously the videos just constantly are scrubbed off the internet. But you may remember when I showed the Royal Arch Masons and Trump, and this is supposedly footage of Trump at a university accepting a degree. This is how the people who support Trump continue to support him and say that we're all, well, you're off your rocker. And then they kind of just go, when you explain Freemasonry and then all the stuff that they believe with Q and you start getting into it, they go, well, it's the lesser of two evils, right? Trump's better than Kamala, better than Biden, because they don't want to believe this. And they can't understand that the whole purpose that Trump is serving is to lead them where the government wants them to be led. They know that people who are conservative are not going to get on board with these liberal ideologies, right? Which is why I've talked about how they're separating us between red and blue states. And I believe that's where we're headed in the future. But this prevents a revolution. That's what people need to understand. That's the most important thing. Because if Trump wasn't standing there and saying all the things that people who are conservative want to hear, and people weren't saying Trump's going to change this, Trump's going to change, then the people themselves would change this and stop this. Trump serves as a safeguard for the elite from a real revolution occurring. It's as simple as that. It's as simple as that. So we've seen Trump, again, with the Royal Arch Masons, we've seen Trump all the time holding up the 666 sign over his eye. We see the secret handshakes all of the time. And again, the Freemasons have infiltrated the police force in a lot of different ways. It's not just the fraternal order. The Freemasons also have their child ID program, which they do out in the open, which is like one of the only things that, they're known for. Oh, the Freemasons, they do what? They like to go to the children's hospitals and they want this child ID program put in place in local towns. The Freemasons are responsible for this. This is to get your child's DNA. That's what this is for. They tell you it's, in case your kid gets abducted, right? Well, we all know what's going on right now with DNA. People willingly giving up their DNA to things like Ancestry. This has all been done by design. All the actors in Hollywood are in on it. They go on those TV shows. I'm related to so-and-so. I'm related to so-and-so. Please send us your DNA, right? And then at the same time, you see what they're doing with people's DNA, right? And editing people's genes. People who are willingly walking to their local pharmacy and being science experiments for the government and allowing them to put gene editing into their bodies, right? And nanotech. So don't forget that about the Freemasons as well. While they work with the fraternal police order, they're also doing things like this, the child ID program, which is a good way to wake people up because you say, well, wait a minute, this is what you're up to? And they go, well, we care. Kids are getting abducted. So what do you want? Well, we want your kid's DNA, of course. And come on down. We're going to fingerprint your kid. We're going to scan their retina. We're going to get the DNA, the little prick here. And it'll all be safely protected, and we'll give it over to the police in the town, right? So they'll take your DNA. They'll take your blood sample. They'll put it in a case. This is what they do. Then they give it to the Fraternal Order of Police in your local town. Oh, great. They have your DNA. So in case they want to frame you maybe in the future, right? You'll just think, for example, if they have a vial of your blood and they hear you out preaching how Freemasons are Satanists, well, maybe the police will plant your blood on a crime scene somewhere. Oh, is that out of the realm of possibility? Well, maybe it is for some people, but if you knew what these people teach and how hell-bent they are on power, you'd realize that it's not out of the realm of possibility. They will stop at nothing. And we can clearly see that they will stop at nothing with the mass amounts of censorship going on and everything else. So Donald Trump accepts the endorsement from the Fraternal Order of Police, which is Freemasonic. And again, his followers, his supporters don't realize that what they're actually doing by supporting him, instead of the civilians getting together, trying to pull people on the left and the right out of the left-right paradigm, is that they're endorsing the New World Order. They think they're stopping it by voting for and supporting Trump. What they're really doing is enabling it. Because by civilians not banding together and going against a treasonous government and starting some type of a revolution, which doesn't have to be a violent revolution. They hear the word revolution, people are like, he's calling for violence. Oh yeah, how about we all just disengage with the government? We stop allowing them to do the things they're doing. If the entire country stopped paying their taxes, would they have power anymore? No, they wouldn't. Would they be able to put every single citizen in jail? No, they wouldn't. So the citizens together could say, we've had enough of this. You need to stop. And they probably would take their foot off the pedal a little bit. But the left-right divide is what prevents anything from happening, because you put your hope in someone like Trump, hoping that when he's in power, everything's going to get better again. And if he's not put in power come this election, he's probably going to be able to take some of those civilians and say, hey, look, this whole thing's rigged. We need to do something. And they'll go, we're in. We're going to start a revolution with Trump, which wouldn't be a real revolution. It would be a controlled revolution, which means that it would be something the government already has designed for you to do, to go where they want you to go. So, of course, Trump is supported by the Freemasons. Most out there will say, it's not the same thing. They got a 5-pointed pentagram inside of a circle, the same logo as the witches and Satanists use, right? And then they'll say, well, it's not an inverted pentagram, so it's not Satanist. Oh, okay, it's just a witchcraft logo, right? It's got an all-seeing eye, Masonic handshake, and a checkerboard floor on it, who openly tell you that they practice rituals, but, don't worry about it. Think no further if you're somebody who's new to this and you're trying to figure out how they infiltrate everything than your local Freemasonic Lodge. It's how they infiltrate local schools, local politics. They're all involved in it. Okay, that's how they get this, have this stuff pushed to a T all around the United States of America. There's no places that are out of their grip. That's why they're moving forward with this. And think no further with the false flags, how they set these up. Because the CIA and the FBI go through the Fraternal Order of Police to carry out some of these events, working together, right? The police who are on hand while black ops are on hand are working together because they're all connected through these secret societies. So they can act these out, they can pre-plan these things, which is what they do. Just like the George Floyd thing, one of the most acted out things you'll ever see, where these police officers, and I talked about this for years, and the videos are obviously can't be found, but one of the things I talk about with all this race baiting they were doing heavily, they still are, but during BLM, specifically, people weren't paying attention to the common sense of it all. How all of these white police officers were pulling people over who were black and shooting them and tasering them and mistreating them when they knew they were going to be filmed. They knew that all his eyes were on what they were doing. And these people were obviously doing it because they were told to act it out. And then they were, we fired so-and-so, we put so-and-so in jail. They got sent over with the Mossad probably, or sent down to CIA headquarters where they did a little plastic surgery on them, and then they just got a new name or, whatever, and get sent back out into the public. Because that's what they do. They don't go to jail. They don't serve time. How would you ever know? They do a fake trial on TV and they go, they're going to jail. Oh, and then you just think that they're in jail, right? You would never think it's out of the realm of possibility to ship them to another country. How would you even know? You don't remember. For 9 times out of 10, you can't even remember what any of these people look like, these police officers, just look like a John Doe, right? You wouldn't know 5 years later if they re-put this guy in society in another police role. I'm talking about the guy in the George Floyd thing or any of these guys. You would never know. They give him a new name. Oh, okay. A little plastic surgery. Oh, okay. Right? That's why they were acting it out. They were told to act it out. Nobody could go out there who was a police officer and white and be so tone deaf to act the way that they were still acting around black people during all the BLM stuff. It was unbelievable. It was almost like if you were a white cop and you're pulling over someone who's black, you'd be extra careful because you don't want them to be filming you. You don't want to possibly lose your livelihood. And instead of that, not only were they being disrespectful, they were going after him. They were doing things that were against the law to him. It was all deliberate. And then it was all on national news because that's how all of this stuff works. The Fraternal Order of Police has a heavy hand in everything you see going on. And you might say, well, all those narratives are about getting rid of the police. Why would they be in on that? You think they care about their job as police officers? Do you think they actually care? They know what the future looks like. They know what the AI governance infrastructure looks like. And just because they lose their position as a cop doesn't mean that they're not going to be taken care of for the rest of their lives. Of course they are. They're sabotaging. That's what they are. They're saboteurs. And they're sabotaging just the entire role of the police. And of course, keep in mind with this stuff with Trump and the police support, this is being done deliberately. Because if we are to break away and say Democratic states go heavier towards AI governance, which they will, and AI police, which means robo-police and cameras everywhere. The conservatives are going to want more police because they're going to be, the police, we love the police, we're for the police, we support the police. That's one of the narratives that's out there, right? So they'll be under the hand, of course, of the police, the fraternal police organization. So it won't fully disband just yet. I'm sure all 377,000 members will be in those red states, having control over your local jurisdiction or wherever you may live. So that's how all this stuff works, folks. It's easy to figure out when you're awake. I thank everybody for being here. Hope you're all doing well. God bless you and your families as always.